Today we're going to do an upgrade on an Elmo CL optical projector, 16mm sound. The rear arm is the old version with a flat belt system that is not operating properly now. The later model, or let's say the later production models of the 16 CLs had a bottom gear system or toothed belt pulley assembly, and a toothed belt, a belt with little teeth, so that there's no slippage and also no rubber on the inside here to go bad. I'm going to take off the rear arm cover and we'll take a quick look here. This rear belt is not terribly impregnated with urethane. There's a urethane down here that deteriorates. I'm not sure if we can zoom in on that or not. Yeah, down on the bottom right here is where it's got the black urethane similar to the rollers, and what happens with the urethane is it becomes soft and sticky, and I can actually remove pieces of it, which is not the way it's supposed to be, of course. Take a look and see how this belt looms around the pulleys, because you're going to be putting this toothed belt or cog belt on the same pulleys. We're going to pop this thing off. Inspect this for any stickiness. Which we'll probably we'll end up cleaning that with mineral spirits before we put the new belt on. So the first step is to put this out of the way here. Remove the rear cover. We might need this a little farther back. Okay. There's 4 screws holding it on. I don't think that's the right tip. Some of these take larger tip. Larger tip Phillips. Some take smaller tip Phillips. This particular one takes the smaller tips. There's 2 on the top. One in the front. And one in the back. Cover comes off pretty easily. To expose the area we'll be working on. Remember to unplug it, which I'm going to do now, so that you don't end up getting an electrical shock. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is take off this black cover here, which will expose some of the shaft and the pulleys in there. like using these tools so these things don't drop all over the place. We do offer these on the website if you have these magnetic tools. Okay. Now this is the shaft up here that we'll be taking out. Goes through here, shaft right here. So at this point, first thing to do is to loosen these Phillips screws and remove this belt. We'll zoom in a little closer, I think. This is your belt adjustment. We're going to be readjusting that later when we put this belt back on. This belt is pretty clean. Sometimes you'll find that this belt gets a lot of oil on it if someone over-greased these worms down here. Let's loosen this until it goes all the way. I'm going to pull this off. Put that aside. Now what we want to do here is remove this pulley right here. The access to the pulley is through this little hole at the top, which allows you to put an Allen in here and catch the two little Allen screws in there that hold the pulley on. Let's see. Bear with me while I take a quick look and align the Allen screw. And as I said, there's two of them, so make sure that you catch them both. And also make sure that you use the right size Allen wrench. I haven't really haven't. I usually just pull them out of the set and fit them. I'm not a guy to start figuring out all these different sizes. So anyway, we got this one together. It could be pretty tight in there, and make sure you don't strip them because that does cause a problem. Something you might run into, but it's actually a bit frozen in there. It's been on there for 30 some odd years, so I can't reach it that way. doing this in real time because, like, probably, unless you're a lot quicker than me with tools. Going to take a while to align the. I usually just use the short end, but it didn't seem. There. Usually I like to use it this way because it's easier to align and take out. Most of these are not as tight as this. This one really seemed to be frozen in there. Now you rotate it to find the next one, and you're in the same size Allen to get it out. Okay. I'm going to try this with the long way again. My goodness, this one's there. Okay, so we got that shaft loose. One of the Allens is on a flat, so you got to make sure you turn them out far enough. Okay, so now that we've got the pulley off, shaft's exposed. Got some grease on there that we really don't need. Okay, now we're gonna flip around. Of course, with this comes right out. There are two bearings. I'm holding the other bearing with my finger. This bearing came out. Don't drop the bearings. They go into these riders here. So this is the bad pulley, which basically has a deteriorated coating of urethane here, or rubber, coating of urethane or rubber, whatever this stuff is. I'm not sure if this is the same urethane on this one that is on the old rollers, but that's a moot point right now. I still drop a drop or two of oil on the shaft. This, of course, places right through here. And now we will have a cogged wheel on the bottom instead of the rubberized pulley there. We'll be replacing the pulley now. See if I can get this thing in the picture right. I don't even know what it is. Let me move the camera. There we go. Okay, so our two Allens are out, ready to be tightened on here. So at this point, again, I have to use my trusty flashlight to see these things in here. Okay, now when when you tighten the Allen, you want to make sure that you don't have like back and forth play here. This is what keeps it from moving back and forth on the bearings. So, you know, light pressure here, tightening of the Allen, and there's no back and forth play here, so we know we have it right. Don't forget to tighten both of them. Okay, it's freewheeling. So we're going to replace our belt. It looms on the same way. Try not to get grease on it while you're getting it back on. Okay, so now the belt is on the pulleys. I'm going to press this forward in order to, oops, this has to be on the pulley, of course, in order to tighten it. Now what I like to usually do with this pulley, by the way, is add at least a minor drop of oil on both sides. I've seen these pulleys, when they're too dry, they'll actually, just very little so it's not going to get on the belt. I've seen these shafts eat into the pulley. You end up with like plastic dust all over and the pulley gets loose on the shaft. It still works, but probably not the best idea not to lubricate it. Worked a little oil in there. Can't really take this off to do the shaft because these are press fits. So now you push this up with your finger. There is a little play going back and forth. So you pull it. Pulley is that's good. You don't want it too tight and don't want it too loose, I guess. You just want to make sure that it's going to have a nice grip as this bottom pulley rotates your upper arm pulley. Of course, you want to put this plate back on. Since at least I have a tendency to drop little nuts and bolts all over the place, I'm going to put it this way when I reinstall that plate. This way I can drop, plate goes this way. This way I can drop the nut into the plate while I'm doing it. Not the nut, but the screw, of course. There, got it. Okay, I got one. Get the bottom one now. Get those nice and tight. Now we're going to work on this arm a bit. As I said, the first thing you're going to want to do is clean off these pulleys, make sure there's no stickiness left from the prior pulley on there. I'm using mineral spirits. You could use alcohol, whatever you have handy. Stickiness is off of there. Always make sure that this is tight. Sometimes they just loosen up. This one is already tight. You need a skinny screwdriver to get into there. Okay, the next thing we have is we're replacing the flat belt that was on there. This was the flat belt that we took off, with the cog belt or a toothed belt. I call them toothed, I should probably call them cog, but whatever. Now if you recall, the loom on this is a little bit, if you haven't done it before, you'd sort of say, well, how was it before? But we'll get it. So it goes up and over. It's nice, it's not sticking anymore. This cog belt will drive this very nicely. What I like to do is to use alcohol. I'm going to plug this in. I like to use alcohol even with the new belt. You know, in manufacturing there's always some kind of lubrication or something that they put on there. I use alcohol. 90% is best for this. Turn the unit on. what I do is simply rub the inside of the belt a bit. You could actually see a little bit of something comes off there, but it'll grip better when you're doing your final adjustments. Give it a little bit, it'll be dry. Now there is an adjustment on here if you wanted to increase the pull of your takeout. Which is this, shut it off now, which is this Phillips screw, and it also has a little nut over here that you loosen to tighten the Phillips screw. I like to feel this. It's got a fairly decent pull actually without adjusting that, but I'll adjust it a little tighter anyway to show you how it works. Grab yourself some small wrenches. If you don't have small wrenches, best to go buy them because you don't want to grind up the hexagon on there and make it hard to loosen and untighten. Okay, it looks like it's a 5 millimeter. You loosen the nut. Loosen the nut. A couple times. Sometimes you could just push it with a screwdriver. Get your screwdriver in here. Tighten this up. What it does, it tightens up the spring over here. I think we got it just about bottomed out. It might go a little bit more. Tighten your nut. That's increased the pressure on the rear spindle. Yeah, that's a nice pull now. Okay. Nothing else to do in here. Make sure these rollers are spinning, which is a little hard to see in some cases. But it's easy enough if you have a marker or something to put a little dot on it. If they're not spinning, you have to probably put a little lubricant on there. Most of the time this is not an issue. Sometimes if you try to take these shafts off with these screws, it's just all frozen on there. It won't come off. So anyway, when we turn it on, you see those little dots are moving, and we know that the system is operating properly. Okay, well, the rest of the stuff is pretty straightforward. You're going to put back your plates and put the back on. And you now have a rear arm rebuild that is equal, if not better, than the later model CLs that were made. They had three types of arm systems. They had one with a metal spindle. There was a mid-range one that had cog belts that had a white spindle, and then the final latest model CLs had a sort of a gray plastic spindle. The white spindle was plastic in the mid-range, and the gray spindle was also plastic. Now you have a metal spindle that lasts forever. So at this point you're going to put the back on. I'm not going to do that while the video is running, because that's pretty much easy to do. At this point, that was the replacement and rebuild of a rear arm on an Elmo CL 16mm optical projector. The Elmo rear arm rebuild kits are available on our website. Just go to the Elmo page to see them listed.